Nearly 1 million Russian casualties, thousands of tanks destroyed, yet Vladimir Putin fights on. But what if I told you the war isn't going the way he claims, and that Ukraine has a real chance to win? The answer lies in a plan the West still hasn't tried. Donald Trump promised he'd end the war in 24 hours. How? By forcing Ukraine to accept a deal straight from the Kremlin's playbook. No NATO, no foreign weapons, permanent neutrality. But here's what no one's telling you. These demands were already rejected years ago for a reason you'll want to hear. Meanwhile, the story the world keeps hearing is that Ukraine can't win, that it's running out of time, weapons, and options. But look closer, and a very different picture emerges. Russia expected to seize Kyiv in days. Instead, Ukraine held the line, reclaimed territory, and has even launched operations inside Russia. You won't believe what they pulled off using $400 drones. As of May 2025, Russia has lost 950,000 troops, over 10,000 tanks, and more than 36,000 drones. So why do so many still believe Ukraine is losing? The answer has more to do with Western politics than battlefield reality. Because Ukraine's path to victory is real, but it depends on one thing the West keeps hesitating to do. And without it, everything could slip away. There is a way Ukraine can still win. It's a three-pronged strategy, and it starts with the one thing Putin fears most. First, military dominance. Ukraine doesn't need to invade Russia. It just needs the tools to keep destroying what Russia can no longer replace. Modern tanks, long-range missiles, drones, lots of drones. But here's the catch. Ukraine was denied many of these until last year. Why? We'll get to that. Because what's stopping Ukraine isn't a lack of courage, it's a lack of permission. Economic warfare. Russia's economy is bleeding, but the sanctions, full of loopholes. We were told swift removals and price caps would bring Moscow to its knees. So why is Russia still afloat? The truth is in how the sanctions were designed and what they failed to cut off. Third, political resolve. This is where it gets uncomfortable. Putin is betting that Western support will collapse before his army does. And behind closed doors, some leaders are already pushing for a settlement, even if it means handing Putin a win. But there's something they're not saying out loud. The West holds a $300 billion weapon. And we're not using it yet. What happens next won't be decided in Moscow. It'll be decided in Washington, Brussels, and Berlin. The war isn't over. The window is still open. Ukraine's held the line for over 3 years. The question is, will we finally give them what they need to win? Because the real danger isn't that Ukraine can't win. It's that we'll choose not to let them. But if you're still asking, can Ukraine really win? Look back. In 2022, Ukraine was expected to fall in weeks. In 2023, analysts warned its offensive had stalled. In 2024, Russian forces pushed harder than ever, and still, Ukraine didn't collapse. Because this war isn't just about tanks and trenches. It's about time, innovation, and will. Ukraine has adapted faster than any military in modern history. They've integrated AI into targeting systems, improvised maritime drones that sank ships, and turned commercial tech into battlefield tools. They've turned scarcity into strength. But innovation isn't enough on its own. Without sustained Western backing, logistics, ammo, and political clarity, Ukraine's ingenuity will hit a wall. And Putin knows it. That's why he's not just fighting with missiles. He's fighting with disinformation, division, and delay. Every month, Western leaders hesitate. Every time support becomes a political bargaining chip, that's time Russia uses to regroup, rearm, and reinforce. And yet, there's still one advantage Ukraine holds that Russia never will. Hope. Hope rooted in self-determination. Hope shared by millions of Ukrainians who've stayed, fought, rebuilt, despite the bombs, the blackouts, and the burials. That's not just national pride. That's strategic will. And in war, that can be decisive if it's matched by real support. So here's the question. What kind of ending do we want? One where Putin walks away with stolen land and leverage over Europe? or one where Ukraine survives, rebuilds, and becomes the very democracy Putin tried to destroy. The tools to win exist, the money is frozen, the weapons are built. The only thing missing is urgency. Victory won't be clean, it won't be fast. But if the West steps up now, Ukraine can still win. Not just survive, win, and that's a story history will remember. But there's one more factor we can't ignore: Donald Trump. Trump says he wants the war to end fast. But what he means is ending it on Putin's terms. His administration has already signaled a willingness to pressure Ukraine into accepting a bad deal, possibly even revisiting Russia's original 2022 demands. That would mean Ukraine giving up its NATO ambitions, reducing its military, and surrendering control over its future. In practice, that's not a peace deal. It's a forced capitulation that would reward invasion and rewrite international law. And here's the danger. If the U.S. pulls military aid and recognition, Russia will see it as a green light to escalate again, maybe not just in Ukraine, but elsewhere. In Moldova, in Georgia, even the Baltics. Trump's team argues that Ukraine can't win. That's simply not true. Ukraine has been winning, but only when it's been given the tools. Take those tools away, and yes, the war could be lost. Not because Ukraine failed, but because it was abandoned. What Trump decides in the next 6 months could shape this war more than any battlefield movement. The question isn't just what Ukraine can do. It's whether the next U.S. president will give them the chance to finish what they started. Because if America steps back now, Europe may not be ready to step in. And history has a habit of punishing those who blink first.